Now we kept seeing that note pop up, and down below you see the note box, and it has a note of kit required, and then a test note that I put in earlier. When the NAGS data is loaded into the system, that kit required note would automatically be there. But we can add our own notes, so if there are other things about the part that you need to make somebody else aware of, you can add a note in there. All you would need to do is simply put your cursor in the box for the notes, double click, it'll open up our part note section, type in whatever notes we'd like. If you want it to pop up like mine does, just check the pop-up box. And then after you've added your note, simply go up to the top and choose the save icon, and then we can just click on the X to close that window. And now the next time we bring up that part, our note will be there, and if we have the pop-up checked, it'll pop up on our screen. There are a couple other buttons there at the bottom. The vendor inquiry button takes you to the section of the program that allows you to check pricing and order parts through some of the major vendors. These vendors would include Pilkington, PGW, Migrant, and Guardian. You'll want to watch the vendor inquiry tutorial for more information on that. Next we have the Stock As button. The Stock As button allows you to take a different part out of stock than the part that you're selling. So for instance, let's go look at our interchange part here, the 1748. So if we want to show that we're selling the 1867, but we're actually going to stock the interchange part of the 1748, we'll first add our 1867 to the ticket. Then we'll click on the 1748. We'll need to expand that, highlight the GTY part, and now we can choose the stock as, and it'll ask us to confirm that we want to stock the 1867 as a 1748, and we'll choose yes. And now once we've done that, we're going to scroll our screen, our item screen at the bottom over to the right here, and as you can see in that stock as column, we now have a 1748 in it. So that tells the system that when we're ordering parts, receiving parts, and then ultimately selling the parts on this ticket, we're going to be putting in and taking out a 1748 in our inventory module, not the 1867 that we have on there that we're using as the part that we're selling. So that can come in very handy, especially in situations where you're billing an insurance company and maybe you want to purchase the OEM part, but you don't want to have to call and get authorization on it, and you just go ahead and sell the NAGS part number, but stock the OEM part number. Next is our view picture, and as you can imagine from the description, that allows us to view a picture of whatever part we have highlighted. It'll be an exploded view, have a lot of the different parts on it, and those parts are numbered. So in this list below, you can see there's a column there for figure number. Now on this particular windshield here, we're not really seeing any of those other parts. But if we were to go into the other parts section for that particular piece of glass, picked one of the parts there, and then viewed the picture, it would have a much lengthier list, and many of those parts that are shown in that picture will be listed in the figure column here. And you can, of course, print this picture out if you'd like by choosing the print button. Next, we have our add section where we can tell the program to add moldings or kits, and we can specify which type of moldings or kits we want to add by choosing the drop down. Now these drop downs are set on each price level, so if you haven't watched the tutorial yet on the price levels, you probably would want to go and take a look at that, and that'll show you how those are set up. But for each different price level, you can set which moldings and kits are either added or not added. We can do it on the fly here. So let's say I decide I don't want a molding on here. I can choose none, and it takes the molding off. But the next order that I do using the cash price level, it would be added back on again. Also, I can set this to different types of moldings. We'll put it back to precision like we had it. Let's talk a little bit about the price levels and how it affects this screen here. Earlier when we were taking a look at our parts, we looked at the pricing over to the right and how we had a material rate of 50% and a labor rate of $20 per hour. And again, we made note that that was due to how that price level in the upper right corner was set. So if I were to go to the price level drop down here and choose insurance, you'll see how now the material rate changed to 40%, our labor rate changed to $35, and that changed our total over here to $285.26. So again, for different customers like insurance companies or dealerships, body shops, you'll want to set up the different price levels. Last, let's take a look at these checkboxes over here to the right. They do a couple different things. First, the don't display other moldings. You'll notice here on my 1747 I have 3 different types of moldings. Typically I want to use the precision molding. So if I don't want to have my CSR have too many choices here, I can check the don't display other moldings, and if you'll watch over where the moldings are, you'll see that only the precision molding now is highlighted. And that's based off of this add window, because in the molding section I've selected precision, so it's only going to show me the type of molding that I have selected there. We're going to skip the zero prices for just a moment. Let's go to the interchanges option. So we have our 1748 part here as our interchange, and if you take a look, now when I check the don't display interchanges box, that interchange windshield goes away. So if you don't want people to price out or order interchange parts, then you can leave that don't display interchange box and they won't be seen. Now let's go back to the don't display zero prices. Let's take a look here at our 1867, and you can see here this particular part has no nags list price. That can cause difficulties when you're quoting, because if somebody doesn't notice that there's no list price and you have your material based as a percentage off of that list price, you're going to quote under what you're probably going to pay for that piece of glass, because there will be no material price on the glass. There'll just be whatever the labor amount is, in this case $56, and then whatever there might be on the kit and molding. So if we selected this one here, it comes out to about $105, and the glass itself could cost us at least $105, maybe even more. So in order to prevent that, we may want to tell the system not to display any zero priced items. So by checking the don't display zero prices, now when I go to the 1867 and click on it, you see I get the minus sign, but it doesn't expand. I can't see what parts are underneath that, and therefore I can't select them. So this can be a good and bad thing. It's going to prevent somebody from choosing a part that isn't priced in nags. However, there might be times where you actually do need to use that part and put in a price manually. So you may need to uncheck that box so that it allows you to select that part. Last is the auto expand windshield prices. When we first came into this window, we did have the windshields expanded out to the point where we could see the windshield part numbers, but not the pricing. If you check the auto expand windshield prices, it expands each of the parts so that we get the colors and can therefore see the pricing. So a lot of people like to turn that on so that when they go right to the glass tab, since they're typically going to be working with a windshield, everything's already displayed and they don't have to go through and click on the plus signs to expand things out further. And that's a look at your glass screen and part 2 of our tutorial on the Auto Glass tab. Please come back and watch part 3 on the Other Parts tab.